Rain fell softly over the quiet street, washing the dust from the tired city. At the corner, an old beggar sat shivering, his hands trembling from hunger and cold. People passed him without a glance, but from a nearby house, a young girl watched. Her name was Amina. Carefully, she looked over her shoulder, making sure no one was watching. Then she stepped outside, holding a small plate of food. Her heart pounded as she walked toward the beggar and gently placed the food in his hands. "Thank you," he whispered, his eyes filled with something deeper than gratitude. Amina smiled softly. But from the window behind her, someone was watching, and in that moment, everything began to change. Amina was not like the others in her home. While most people in that house spoke with authority, she lived in silence. After her mother passed away, everything changed. Her father remarried quickly, a decision that brought a new woman into their lives and slowly took Amina's happiness away. Her stepmother ruled the house with strict control. Every meal was counted, every mistake was punished, and kindness was seen as weakness. Amina woke up before sunrise every day, cleaning, cooking, serving, doing everything without complaint. Her father was there, but not really there. He saw the struggles in her eyes, but he never spoke. Fear had made him quiet, and Amina had learned to do the same. But deep inside, she was different. Where others saw burden, she saw people. Where others felt pride, she felt compassion. And even in a house that tried to silence her heart, Amina never stopped being kind. The old man had been sitting at the same corner since morning. His clothes were worn, his face marked with the weight of many years. Dust clung to his skin, and his eyes carried a quiet exhaustion that no one seemed to notice. People walked past him without slowing down. Some looked away, others pretended he didn't exist. But Amina noticed. From the small window of the house, she watched him for hours. The way his hands trembled, the way he held his stomach, the way hope slowly faded from his eyes. Her heart couldn't ignore it. She knew the rules. No food was to be wasted, no kindness was to be given outside. But something inside her refused to stay quiet. Carefully, she waited for the right moment. Then, when the house fell silent, she moved. A small plate of food, hidden beneath a cloth, rested in her hands as she stepped outside. Each step felt heavier than the last, but she didn't stop. When she reached him, she knelt slightly and placed the food in his hands. For a moment, the old man just stared, as if he couldn't believe it was real. Then his eyes lifted slowly to meet hers. "Why?" he asked softly. Amina hesitated, then smiled. "Because you're hungry." The old man's expression softened, and with a gentle voice he said, "May your kindness return to you in ways you never expect." Amina didn't know it yet, but those words were about to change her life forever. Amina had barely taken a step back toward the house when a sharp voice cut through the air. "Amina!" Her body froze instantly. Slowly, she turned around. Her stepmother stood at the doorway, eyes burning with anger, watching everything. In seconds, she stormed forward and snatched the empty plate from Amina's hands. "You gave our food away?" she snapped. Amina tried to speak, but no words came out. The woman's face twisted with rage. "You think kindness feeds this house?" she shouted, her voice echoing through the street. Before Amina could react, slap! The sound rang loud and sharp. Amina stumbled back, her cheek burning, eyes filling with tears, but she didn't cry out. Neighbors slowed down, watching silently, but no one stepped in.
Her stepmother grabbed her arm tightly and dragged her inside. "You want to behave like a beggar?" she hissed. "Then you'll learn how they suffer." The door slammed shut behind them. Inside, the house felt colder than ever. She was pushed into a small, dark room, the door locking with a hard click. "No food tonight," the stepmother said coldly. "Maybe hunger will teach you some sense." Footsteps faded away. Silence filled the room. Amina slowly sat down on the floor, her hands shaking, her stomach empty. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but quietly, not because of the pain, but because, even after everything, she didn't regret helping him. And somehow, that made her stepmother even more wrong.
The next morning, something felt different. The street, usually quiet and ordinary, began to stir with unusual energy. Amina sat silently by the window, still weak from hunger, her eyes distant. Then, a deep engine sound broke the calm. One car, then another. Sleek, black vehicles slowly rolled into the narrow street, their polished surfaces reflecting the morning sun. People began to step outside their homes, whispering, watching. Neighbors gathered in small groups, curiosity spreading like wildfire. "Who are they?" someone murmured. The cars stopped right in front of Amina's house. Doors opened. Well-dressed men stepped out. Sharp suits, confident posture, nothing like the people this street was used to. Amina's stepmother rushed outside, her expression shifting from irritation to confusion. "Yes, what is this?" she demanded. One of the men stepped forward calmly. "We are looking for this house," he said, glancing at a paper in his hand. Her stepmother frowned. "This house? Why?" But the man didn't answer immediately. Instead, his eyes scanned the surroundings, as if waiting for someone. The air grew heavy. Even the whispers stopped. And in that silence, it felt like something big was about to unfold, something no one in that street was prepared for. The crowd stood frozen as one final car door slowly opened. For a moment, no one moved. Then, a man stepped out. Clean suit, polished shoes, confident presence. The same street that had ignored him yesterday now felt completely silent. Amina's eyes widened. Her breath caught in her throat. She recognized him instantly. It was him, the beggar. But he was no longer the broken man sitting at the corner. He walked forward calmly, his presence commanding respect with every step. The men in suits stood behind him, waiting. Amina's stepmother blinked in disbelief, her voice shaking. "You?" The man stopped in front of her, his gaze steady, unshaken. And then he spoke. "Yesterday, you saw a beggar." His voice was calm but powerful. "Today, you face the man you ignored." A ripple of shock moved through the crowd. No one spoke. No one breathed. He turned slightly, his eyes finding Amina. And for the first time, a soft expression appeared on his face. "I was not asking for food," he continued slowly. "I was looking for something far more rare." A pause. Kindness. His eyes never left Amina. "And in this entire street," he said quietly, "only one person had it." The silence that followed was heavier than anything before. Amina's stepmother stood frozen, her face pale, her eyes filled with fear and disbelief. The man stepped closer to Amina, his expression now gentle. "You gave me food when you had so little yourself," he said softly. Amina lowered her eyes, unsure of what to say. "You didn't see a beggar," he continued. "You saw a human being." He turned to the men behind him. Make sure she never struggles like this again." The words echoed like a promise. Within moments, everything began to change. Amina was offered a new life, education, support, a future she had never imagined. Tears filled her eyes, but this time they were not from pain. Behind her, her stepmother tried to speak, but no words came out. For the first time, she felt small. Regret replaced her anger, but it was too late, because kindness had already chosen its reward. And as Amina stepped forward into her new beginning, a quiet voice echoed in the story. In a world that often forgets kindness, she chose to remember it.